Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Read from the verse 5. Uddharedatmanatmanam Natmanam avasadayet Atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu Atmaiva ripuratmanah Bandhuratmatmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvata jitatmanah prashantasya Paramatma samahitaha Shitoshna sukha dukkheshu Tatha mana pamanayoho. Uddharet atmana atmanam. May you lift yourself by yourself. Atmanam avasadayet. May you not let the Atma, the self, may you not destroy yourself, or may you not allow the self to slip down. May you always be vigilant to lift yourself. What is meant by lifting yourself, or what is meant by being submerged in the ocean of samsara, is that in the mind constantly a battle between these two kinds of forces is going on, what Lord Krishna calls the divine forces, divine tendencies, and the demoniac tendencies. The divine tendencies described as fearlessness, non-violence, truthfulness, etc., the compassion of forgiveness are described as divine tendencies. At the same time, because of ignorance, there is this arrogance, there is this pride, there is this harshness, anger, etc. All these demoniac tendencies are also there. So Lord Krishna says that one must always be vigilant, because at every moment both these tendencies try to register themselves, both these tendencies try to influence you, and usually the demoniac tendencies are stronger And if one is not very careful, then it is likely that one may come under their sway. And therefore, there must be vigilance in all the time asserting one's divine tendencies, which is one's true nature. The demoniac tendencies is not our nature. As I said, they are incidental because of ignorance, and they can be removed, and they should be removed. Then alone, bandhuratma atmanastyasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha. So one who has conquered these demoniac tendencies, one in whose heart the divine tendencies rule, for that person, the Atma, the self becomes friend, self becomes helpful. Anatmanastu shatrutve. On the other hand, one who has not done this, meaning one whose mind is controlled by these demoniac tendencies, such as lust or anger or greed and whatever, there the very self acts as an enemy. Self is neither friend nor enemy. Electricity is electricity. The electricity can be friend if you properly use it, by inserting a bulb in the holder or by using, plugging in a fan, etc. The same electricity also can burn me and hurt me if I insert my fingers into the plug, so into the holder. So same thing. Atma is Satchidananda really. It cannot be friend or enemy. But then in presence of the self, the mind becomes enlivened. The tendencies of the mind become enlivened in the presence of self. And therefore, if the demonic tendencies are predominant, they also get enlivened. Unfortunately, Atma does not oppose anything. The consciousness, the Satchidananda self, does not oppose anything. As the 13th chapter describes, it is Upadrashta, Anumantasha. It is the most proximate witness and permitter of everything. Just as electricity will permit everything that you connect. It can be something which is very helpful. It could be something which is hurtful also. This is how the nature is of everything in the universe. Like the energy, atomic energy can be used for peaceful purposes, can also be used for destructive purposes. And so also the energy that we have can be used for peaceful purposes or destructive purposes as well. Therefore Lord Krishna says that be vigilant and always make an effort to see that your divine nature, your divine tendencies always prevail. That requires alertness. That requires an understanding of the mind also. As we said, one way of dealing with these demonic tendencies is by what we call pratipaksha bhavana, by deliberately taking the opposite stand. Anger arises because I cannot tolerate someone or cannot tolerate something, and thus that anger can be diffused by a spirit of tolerance. Tolerating, accepting, forgiving. Jealousy arises because I see somebody progressing, I see somebody better than me, somebody getting what I want and I do not get. Jealousy arises. Meaning that what jealousy shows is that I'm unhappy because somebody is happy. So what is pratipaksha bhavana? What's the opposite? Be happy because somebody is happy. Tell your mind. Thus understanding these tendencies and understanding how to deal with them, that we have to learn, which is what Vedanta teaches us. But all along, be always vigilant to assert your true nature. Recognize that by nature, true nature, you and I and everyone is, as we said, a loving, kind, good person. That is our nature. And all the time we should be striving to assert that nature. Uddhared atmana atmanam. This is how one should lift oneself up by oneself. Because Atma, the mind, has come under the control of these demoniac forces. Because we were not vigilant. Because we did not know any better. So it is there. So we begin from where we are, without worrying about why it happened. I won't worry about the cause of it. Swami, is it because of my childhood? Maybe. Because of past karma? Maybe. Because of this? All these reasons can be there, but this is what it is. However it is, without blaming anybody else and without blaming myself, this is what it is. And we have to start. Jitātmanah prasantasya, because the reward is great. Jitātmanah, one who has just conquered oneself completely, meaning one who has made one's mind free from all these demonic forces, one in whose mind the divine tendencies, as I said, of non-violence, truthfulness, compassion, forgiveness, they rule. And for that no effort is to be made, because that's our nature. They will never go away. Once these intruders have been removed, these are all intruders. Anger, etc., are intruders. They have no place really, but they have come. And I have allowed them to come, and then they have become now the rulers. Once they are driven away, then one naturally abides in one's nature, which is divine, meaning which is this the divine tendencies represent my nature. Jitātmanah prasantasya. And so there is no conflict whatever. Because when I am non-violent, when I am truthful, when I am loving, when I am compassionate, then I am totally in harmony with my own self. And therefore, there is no conflict at all. Then I find myself totally at peace with myself. I find myself very happy with myself, totally accepting of myself, quite content with myself, and ever prasantasya, one who enjoys a total tranquility. Paramatma samahitaha. So, two ways this is explained. Atma param samahitaha or Paramatma samahitaha. As Shankaracharya says, Paramatma, my true nature, Satchidananda samahitaha, the self manifests. Brahman, which is my nature, is manifest. Because Brahman, of course, or Atma is self-shining, self-revealing. There is no obstacle to that, really. Sun is always self-shining. Nothing can prevent the sun from shining and revealing itself. But the clouds can deprive us of the experience of sunshine by blocking our vision. It is not that clouds are really blocking the sun. Sun is too vast, clouds are too small. But the clouds can obstruct our vision. And so it is not that the self has become, self is not really veiled by anything, it is always shining in its own glory. But these demoniac tendencies are depriving us, depriving our mind of the experience of the self, of the benefit of self. When these obstructions are removed, then the self in fact shines, is experienced, reveals itself through me, through my mind, through my personality, in its total nature, in its fullness. Therefore, Paramatma samahita, the Paramatma, the self that is limitless, becomes evident. So therefore this person now becomes an instrument where the self, Paramatma, Satchidananda, just manifests to him. And this is in fact what each one of us has to achieve. And the method is simple. Just not give in to our demoniac tendencies, not always asserting our divine tendencies, that's all. In every situation, assert my true nature. Every time my cruelty comes up, I assert a kindness there. Every time some violence comes up, I assert non-violence there. Every time dishonesty reaches ahead, I just subdue it by honesty. Uddharet atmana atmanam. Paramatma samahitaha. Then Atma param samahitaha. Mind is totally absorbed in the self. Mind totally abides in the self. And it remains abiding. Meaning that I am Satchidananda, that I am complete, that I am free, this knowledge or this experience, whatever you call it, never goes away regardless of what the situations are. I am subject to being impacted by situations as long as these demoniac tendencies are ruling in my mind. As long as anger, etc., are ruling my mind, so long I am subject to being controlled by the situation, because the world or situation can keep on pushing various buttons and invoke these tendencies from me. But when these are gone, then there are no buttons left. And therefore, whether it's mana, apamana, whether it's honor or dishonor, no button is pushed. Otherwise, when somebody honors me, the button of my pride is pushed. When somebody dishonors me, the button of my depression is pushed. When the condition is comfortable, again some button is pushed. Every time button is pushed, no buttons are left. As we say, like a screw without a thread. You keep on tightening, nothing happens. So also, the world can keep on tightening, but all the threads, all these things are gone, and therefore the wise person abides in his trueness, in his fullness, regardless of what the external situations are. He has become impervious, he has become totally unaffected. Namam karmani limbandi, name karma phale spruha. Lord Krishna says that actions and things, they just do not affect me at all. This person remains unaffected. Not that he has become thick-skinned, not that he has become insensitive, not that he doesn't understand what's going on. He understands this is called honor and this is dishonor. Not that he doesn't understand that. But nothing touches him. He realizes that honor, dishonor all belongs to the body-mind complex, doesn't belong to the self. Just as an actor who is acting on the stage as a beggar, he knows that in this play, whatever insult is given is to the beggar, to the costume, and not to me. If in the play this fellow wins a lottery, but the actor knows that it is not to me, he is only in the role. And therefore, when this clarity is there, the success and failure, honor, dishonor, all of these belong to the role. Always belong at the level of body-mind complex, and in presence of self this is going on. When the distance is clear, when I do not equate myself to my body-mind, when I do not judge myself by the limitations of them, because I know who I am, then this limitation is not a problem. Vedanta teaches limitlessness in spite of limitations. And therefore the limitations of obtaining a body, it doesn't matter, because I know they don't belong to me. And somebody can hurt me, can hurt what? My body. Or can hurt my mind, hurt the intellect. Somebody can insult, somebody can honor. All of these only applies to the role, applies to the costume, doesn't apply to me. And therefore, prasantaha, he is always absolutely at peace with himself and at peace with the world also. This is called Jivan Muktaha. This is a description of a person who is liberated while alive. So this is called moksha. Moksha is nothing other than this. It is not reaching some different realm or some kind of changes happening in the body, etc. They are not necessary. For being liberated, no change is required really, except the change in the mind, that's all. Inasmuch as the mind is the vehicle or medium through which myself expresses, and therefore, yes, we require transformation there. The same person is described further in the 8th verse. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः. See, the description of the wise person is for us to learn what is spontaneous for the wise person, should become our values. If his mind abides undisturbed, his mind enjoys complete tranquility in these various situations called heat and cold, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor. Understand, they are typical examples of what we call dvandva, or the pairs of opposite. Shītoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayoho. Shīta means cold, Ushna means hot. These are at the level of physical body. Sukha dukkheshu. Sukha is pleasure, dukkha is pain. This is at the level of intellect, at the level of mind, which feels happiness and happiness. Mana apamanayoho, mana and apamana, honor and dishonor at the level of intellect. It is intellect that becomes honor, intellect that becomes dishonor, intellect that feels successful, intellect. So these are judgments of intellect, whether it is honor or dishonor, success or failure. Therefore Lord Krishna here gave these examples of heat and cold, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor, of representing various experiences happening at the different aspects of our personality. That is the level of physical body. We have physical personality, an emotional personality, an intellectual personality. At all the levels, experiences keep on happening. In our life, we can try to create comfort to the extent that we can. It is not that we have to jump into discomfort or dishonor. We can create comfort within reasonable limit. We can stay away from dishonor within reasonable limit. We can avoid pain within certain limits. But otherwise, it's impossible to avoid these things, totally. And not only that, Lord Krishna says that trying to avoid these things requires so much effort that you cannot do the important things. Important thing is to work with me. Important thing is a self-purification. Important thing is to contemplation upon the self. Important thing is to gain the knowledge and gain about. That's the real thing to be done. And therefore anything else should be done to a minimum extent. If you try to create comfort all around us, or try to make things conducive to us, that itself takes so much effort that the main thing then doesn't get done. That is why Lord Krishna says, Tam sitikshasva, you put up with them. Bear with them. Agama payana anityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. Hey Arjuna, these things are always subject to coming and going. Nothing is permanent. And therefore, let them come and go. You put up with them and do what you need to do. Then the 8th verse said, Jnana vijnana truptatma. Again describing a wise person, truptatma. One whose atma, the mind, is trupta, is content. So one finds contentment. One finds satisfaction. From where? So whenever we ask this question, when do you feel happy? Even a child will tell me, Swamiji, whenever my desire is satisfied, whenever I get something that I want. So it is taken for granted that happiness comes whenever we get something that we want, whenever our desire is satisfied. This is a great misconception. It is this misconception about what happiness is that always makes me chase what I look upon as objects of happiness. It makes me avoid what I look upon as objects of unhappiness. Whereas the real source of happiness is one's own self. There is no happiness anywhere else, nor unhappiness anywhere else. Understand? World is world, the objects are objects. Whether they give me happiness or unhappiness is dependent upon how I perceive them. I empower things to give me happiness and I empower them to give me unhappiness. They are poor things, they are what they are. They have some usefulness, that's all. God has created the universe, some of which objects are useful to me. Then you can use them for that purpose. But happiness has to come from the self. And we've been saying that the only thing that deprives me of the experience of happiness for myself are all these demoniac tendencies, which Lord Krishna has reduced to two, raga and dvesha. These include all these negative tendencies, which in turn arise from ego, the sense of individuality, which in turn is a product of ignorance of the self. So ultimately all this has to go. The first and the grossest level of abstraction that we see are the lust and anger and greed and jealousy called likes and dislikes. The second level is what we call ego, sense of individuality with its own insecurities, with its needs. And finally, it is ignorance, not knowing that in fact happiness or wholeness is my nature. Looking upon myself as a limited individual, that this is a product of ignorance. And the ignorance goes by constantly exposing ourselves to the teaching of Vedanta. So all these obstacles have to go. But the first obstacles that are addressed are what are most evident. They are called raga and dvesha, or what you may call the demonic tendencies of the mind. Second obstacle that is then addressed is what we call the ego, sense of individuality, where I have this notion that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, the kartrutva, bhoktrutva. Therefore Lord Krishna would say that do not have a pride, or do not have too much of consciousness that I am doing this. Yes, you are doing something all right, but recognize that in your doing, so much of grace is involved. So to subdue that ego, Lord Krishna says that, may you function as my devotee, become a devotee. Nimitta matram bhavasavya. Here Arjuna, may you become a nimitta. Recognize that ultimately I who is doing this, and you are an instrument in my hand. So karma yogi looks upon himself as an instrument. Still some ego is there, kartrutva, but it is highly subdued ego, understand? Sattvic ego. Therefore, devotee is also an ego, but sattvic ego. So first, raga dveshas, by giving up the attachment to the results of the action, by the prasada buddhi, accepting whatever comes as prasada of Ishvara, and then dealing with the ego of looking upon myself as the servant of the Lord or devotee of the Lord, with humility, with sense of devotion. And finally, even that subtle ego also goes away by the knowledge that in fact Brahman or Satchidananda is my nature, that even that kartatva, bhoktatva also is not my true nature. This is how progressively the obstacles which inhibit the manifestation of my true nature, these obstacles, they get progressively removed. And when all the obstacles are totally removed, then a person gets abiding or established in the happiness or contentment which is his own nature, meaning that he is happy or content for no reason at all. When we ask an ordinary person, why are you happy? Swamiji, because I got a job, I got married, I have a son, whatever. When desirable things happen. Ask this person, why are you happy? He says, well, I can't be unhappy. Why are you happy? Because I am. Cause of his happiness is what? Because I am. Not that I am good, bad or indifferent. Not where I am, what I am is not the cause of his happiness. Why is he happy? I am. Can you imagine this? A person is happy because he is. To me itself is so great that he doesn't need anything more. he does not need anything more for him to be happy other than that I am. That I am conscious. That itself is, so the cause of his happiness is reduced to being so simple. And nobody can rob me of I am. Nobody can rob me of I am conscious. Aham asmi sadabhami. I am and I shine, that nobody can rob me. What I have, somebody can rob me. Where I am, somebody can, remove me from where I am. Somebody can take away from me, what I possess. But nobody can ever take away from me the fact that I am. I shine. For a wise person, this has become the cause of his happiness, contentment. Why do you contend? Because I am. Because what is that I am itself happens to be limitless. Understand? That I am happens to be limitless. I am has no shape, no form, no attributes. I am is not limited in time. It is not it is at a given time that I am. No. I am is not limited to time, not limited to place. It doesn't have any attributes, no form. It's limitless. It's only when we add some tails to the I am that I am a man, that's then that I am becomes limited. I am a man, I am woman, I am great, I am small. Whatever tails when we add or attributes we add, that I am becomes limited. He knows himself, all attributes belong to the body-mind complex. I am attributeless. That's the knowledge. Jnana vijnana truptatma. His trupti or the contentment or total satisfaction comes from knowledge that I am, that is I am Brahman. Jnana vijnana truptatma. Truptatma, your Atma, in this particular expression means Atma means mind. Truptatma, one whose mind is totally content. One is totally content. By jnanam and vijnanam. Jnanam also means knowledge, vijnanam also means knowledge, really. However, when these two words are used together, jnana, vijnana, then we have to give a slightly different interpretation because two words are used, therefore they must convey two slightly different things. If word jnanam or vijnanam is used by itself, then it would mean the same. But inasmuch as both the words are used in the same sentence, the same expression, therefore they have to convey some different meaning, because when two words are there, two meanings must be there. Therefore word jnanam is explained as what they call paroksha jnanam or indirect knowledge. And word vijnanam is explained as aparoksha jnanam or immediate knowledge. What is meant by indirect knowledge is the knowledge that comes to us when we expose ourselves to the teaching, and when with all the reasoning it is pointed out to us or we are made to see that yes, self is Brahman, it makes sense. It makes sense to me that limitlessness should be my nature. It makes sense to me that non-duality alone has to be real. It makes sense to me that duality is mithya. It has some relative reality, it doesn't have absolute reality. And therefore, advitiya or non-dual is real, makes sense to me. That I am limitless or I am self of all is all makes sense. So, everything makes sense. I have no question about it. I have no doubt about that. So this knowledge that we gain by exposure to the scriptures can be called jnanam, paroksha jnanam, or let's say indirect knowledge. Meaning that it has not yet become a reality for me. See, for example, when we hear a discourse on the value of non-violence, let us say, what is non-violence or what is truthfulness, when you hear the discourse, understand what non-violence is. Not to hurt anybody by body, by my words, by my thoughts. Not to hurt anybody's emotions, not to hurt them at the level of body. I understand. Understand also what causes violence. My anger causes violence. Therefore, I must keep my anger under control. I must subdue my anger by pratipaksha bhavana, by compassion, by forgiveness. Everything is very clear to me. I have no question about it. And still, when the real time comes, sometimes I am not able to display non-violence. Again, that anger seems to take hold of me. Which means that knowledge of non-violence or knowledge of truthfulness has not yet become a reality for me. To make that knowledge reality requires some practice. What kind of practice? Every time the anger arises, because there is some, as we say, there are some built-in patterns of thinking and built-in patterns of behavior. They just do not go even by understanding, but then that understanding has to be asserted or practiced again and again. Every time the tendency of anger comes up, I must neutralize it by compassion. But by habit it comes up again I neutralize. Comes up again, I again neutralize. So you can see how before our ideal, or before our knowledge, before understanding, before it becomes a reality, there is very often a time gap involved and also an effort involved. Tatsvayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. In the 4th chapter, Lord Krishna said that in yoga samsiddha, when a person becomes perfected in yoga, kalena, then in course of time, the person will gain this knowledge in his own self. Similarly also, that I am Brahman is very clear to me. But my habit of taking myself to the body is so age-old that when I am not alert, I fall back into the trap again and again and again. Those patterns of thinking, of taking myself to be limited, is also so age-old that again and again I take myself to be a limited being. Like this beggar, the standard story of a beggar who has been begging for the whole of his life for 50 years and has become an expert beggar. So what is his knowledge? I am a beggar. And therefore, whenever a situation arises, when somebody is giving something, distributing something, he is a beggar. He immediately reaches out there and he is so expert that he can push himself in the front and grab right away, because he has acquired all those skills over his lifetime. Thus he is established in the knowledge that I am a beggar. And by somebody's advice, this person started buying lottery every month, just like that. And maybe his destiny would have it. To his greatest surprise, he won the lottery once, and overnight he became a multi-millionaire. Now he knows that I am a rich man, but the knowledge that I am rich has not yet settled into him. Therefore, that beggarliness comes back again and again. You know, sometimes these girls, when they get married, they go to their in-laws. The girl comes from a very poor background. In their home, they were always very frugal, using everything very cautiously, not wasting anything, reusing things again and again, not throwing anything away. This is how it was in their home. This girl gets married in a family which is very wealthy. Now she doesn't have to use every piece of paper and every paper towel and stuff like that. She doesn't have to reuse it. She can just dispose it off. But that doesn't happen. She continues that habit. It will take her quite some time to really get settled into this family and that culture to sink into her, and for her to recognize that I am now in a wealthy family. that there is no need to become so frugal, or to be so chintzy. So also this man did become, because of winning the lottery, he did become rich overnight, but then it would take some time before the fact that he is rich sinks into him. And now he has a very big house, he has a very big car and a chauffeur, and he has gone to have darshan at Mahalakshmi temple, which is where he spent whole of his life begging. Because beggars are at the out, they're all sitting in a row outside the temples. His car is parked on the road, his chauffeur opens the door, he walks out with his keys, making noise and letting the whole world know how rich he is. Goes to Goddess Mahalakshmi, prays there because by her grace he has become rich. He is returning. And there, on the outside veranda of the temple porch, he sees a man with a big basket of laddus, the sweets, distributing to the beggar. And there is a whole crowd of beggars. God knows what happened to this man. At what time he went into that crowd, how he pushed himself ahead of everybody, how he grabbed not one but two laddus, and triumphantly returned, came back to his car, chewing that, munching on the laddu. When he saw the car, when he saw the chauffeur, he realized, wait a minute. So he just forgot that he was a rich man. His old habit of taking himself as a beggar just overtook him. So jnanam has to become vijnanam, meaning that the knowledge must become a reality for me, meaning that we have to get rid of all the habitual errors of wrong thinking and wrong behavior. Two kinds of errors are there. Because so far I've been giving reality to duality and to my sense of individuality, and now I know that is wrong, but still my old patterns of thinking take hold of me. So far I've always been acting as a limited individual, and that again takes hold of me. So even after we are exposed to Vedanta, and we come to know this, then also we have to continue hard work in terms of overcoming these demoniac tendencies, of changing our intellectual patterns and our behaviors. Then that jnanam becomes vijnanam. That knowledge becomes a reality. This is true for everything. You go to medical school and learn. That's called jnanam. Person goes to Ayurvedic school, learns about Ayurveda, that is this knowledge, jnana. But he must actually practice with an old Ayurvedic physician, an established Ayurvedic physician. He must be there as an intern for several years and should actually see how the medicines are made, how actually they are administered, how this is actually done. So whatever he has learned in theory, how it is practiced, he must actually see it being demonstrated, and then it becomes his vijnana. Jnana vijnana truptatma. So the wise person is truptatma, one who is completely content, completely satisfied. Because of what? Because of jnanam and vijnana, because of his knowledge and because of his abidance. Meaning that because the fact that I am limitless or I am happiness become a reality for him. Inasmuch as all the inhibitions obstructing the manifestation of his true self have been removed, and that he abides in his true nature of limitlessness. Therefore, his trupti, contentment, comes from himself. So, what's the source of his happiness? He himself is the source of happiness, because that is real happiness. Jnana vijnana truptatma. One who is totally content. What is trupti? Trupti means contentment. What is contentment? When in my mind there is this disposition, this is enough, adequate. For example, while enjoying a very favorite dish of mine, it may be kheer or payasam. So I'm enjoying payasam. And the person who serves me knows Swamiji likes that, So Swamiji, a little more. Okay. Fill up the katori again. So a little more. I keep saying no, but inside, she knows that inside Swamiji wants, so fill up again. One katori, two katoris, 3, 4. And I said, no, enough. Paryapta ho gaya. Sanjata alam pratyaya. Enough. That kind of a disposition arises in me, enough. I am truptosmi. I am completely content. So we have experience of contentment now and then when they say, eat to your heart's content or enjoy to your heart's content. So people go to these movies in all these multiplex, this theater, so many movies are there. They go at 2 o'clock and they are in the movie theater until 10 o'clock, Go from here to there, that to that, to the heart's content. Well, in the early 80s when this television came to India, people were watching movies, the whole Sunday is a holiday, so Saturday night they start watching movies and half of Sunday, until they are totally satisfied or whatever happens, contented, no more. That's a contentment. Here, the wise person is contented with himself. Jnana vijnana truptatma. In the knowledge that I am limitless, is completely content, completely satisfied. That means it's ananda. Contentment is ananda. The knowledge itself is ananda, understand? When jnana, knowledge creates contentment, which what? Knowledge is of the nature of ananda. That is why there is satchit ananda. Or satyam jnanam anantam. What is jnanam? Anantam, anandam. And therefore, totally satisfied in the very knowledge of himself. Kutastha. And therefore, he has become kutastha. So, what is kutastha? Changeless. Kuta. Kuta means anvil. When a goldsmith, for example, is making his various ornaments from gold, uses an anvil upon which these ornaments are formed. An ironsmith also uses an anvil upon which he makes different articles. He takes a rod and bends it, does various things. That anvil is the platform upon which various changes are going on. The articles are made and they undergo changes and transformations, whereas the anvil remains what it is. So anvil does not change, whereas the various ornaments or articles being made on anvil, they keep on changing. So the anvil is changeless in the midst of changes. And so wise person is called kutastha. He is changeless in the midst of changes. He is changeless, meaning that his mind is changeless, meaning that the mind is totally tranquil. He is free from any reactions, whatever. He is free from any reactions of anger, etc., in spite of the occasions being there, in spite of the various triggers being there, in spite of the tempting objects are there, but his mind is not tempted. So when is my mind tempted? When there are tempting things around, when do I get tempted? When I feel a little void inside. When I'm a little bored, feeling void, feeling moodless, feeling a little sad, not feeling good about myself. That is when things are able to tempt me, remember this. Otherwise you don't bother. If you're happy with yourself, nothing will tempt you. Because the reason why I reach out for those tempting objects is only just to feel good, feel happy. Because I'm not feeling happy as I am, and therefore I need those things. So I remember many years ago while working, at about 4 o'clock, by the whole day is gone and you get a little bored by that time. That's why there is coffee, at 3:30 there is coffee and 9 o'clock there is coffee, and just to, I guess, keep you in good mood. By 4:30 you get bored. I remember walking down from my office to the first floor where there was these vending machines. You have a coin, maybe a quarter or whatever, insert. A big candy comes out, big chocolate candy. That used to be the routine. Because why do you reach out for those things? Because you are bored. You are not happy. So who gets tempted? Person who is not quite content with himself. He gets tempted. Who can be triggered? Who can be provoked? You just tell me one word and I get provoked. Who can be provoked into anger? Person who has many buttons, who is basically not feeling good about himself. There are many things about me which I am not happy about, which I am not willing to confront. There are many things about me about which I am not satisfied, or I am not happy, or I do not like them. There are many things about me which I do not like to accept or not like to confront. There is such and such time I fail, I never like to say that, I do not like to even think about it. There's something I could not, whatever it is that I'm ashamed of, what is that I'm not happy about. So those things are all there, which I do not want to confront. And sometimes people insist upon bringing those things out. So what happened? I don't want to talk about it. What happened? That evening you went there, then what happened? Nothing happened. No, but then I try to avoid. He keeps on pushing, pressing. Sometimes by their persistence people manage to compel me to confront that situation I'm trying to avoid, and immediately I get angry because I don't want to confront it. So anger comes because I am not willing to confront or not willing to accept parts of my own self. And you remind me, or you push me to that somehow. Jnana vijnana truptatma, a wise person is completely content with himself, total self-acceptance. And therefore, nobody can provoke him. There's nothing to provoke. Therefore, he cannot get angry. Not because he doesn't understand what is happening there. He understands what the other persons are doing. Doesn't get provoked, doesn't get tempted. So that is what is meant by kutastha. One who enjoys the complete tranquility of the mind, who is changeless, meaning who is non-reacting completely. Because all the causes of reactions are removed in the wake of knowledge. Through hard work. Uddharet atmana atmanam. May you lift yourself by yourself. Vijitendriya, because the mind is contented, mind is prashantatma, prashanta, totally tranquil, cheerful, and therefore his sense organs also are quite composed. Because now no urges are left. The urge of enjoying something, urge of indulging, what all these urge is there as long as there is inadequacy inside, but now no urge is left. Therefore, his organs or sense organs also are completely free of any urges, any internal pressure. He is free from all internal pressure of having to go out and do something, get something, nothing at all. Because totally content with himself, therefore Vijitendriya, one who has complete mastery over his sense organs. Yukta ityuchyate, this person is called Yukta, he is called a yogi. So then yogi is a person who is completely content with himself, whose mind is totally tranquil and therefore not being subject to being provoked or disturbed or agitated, and with a complete mastery over his sense organs, his personality, without any effort, understand. Usually yogi is a person who restrains things, but here is a wise person in whose case, because of jnanam vijnanam, because of the knowledge, and because the knowledge becomes reality, this is a spontaneous thing, effortlessly. So who is a yogi? Truptatma, one who enjoys complete contentment in himself. Kutastaha, one whose mind is free from all reactions. Vijitendriyaha, one who has a complete control over his sense organs, meaning to him the mind and sense organs have become friends. They become totally favorable to him. And therefore there is no need to resist or create any difficult, any problems. Yukta hityuchate. This person is called yogi. Yuktaha samahitaha, one who completely abides in himself. What is his attitude towards things? How does he behave in his day-to-day life? Lord Krishna says, Samaloshta Ashmakanchana. He is sama. He is equal to Loshta, Ashman, Kanchana. Loshta means a clod of earth, a clod of mud, or clay is called Loshta. Ashman means what? A stone. Kanchana means gold. Sama means he is even-minded to all of this. Whether it is gold, whether it's a stone, or whether it's a clay, whatever, a lump of clay. Sama, he is even-minded to all of them. Meaning that the gold does not attract him, the gold does not create in him a desire that I must have it, gold does not tempt him, nor a clod of earth create any aversion in him. His mind is totally free from attachment and aversion, and therefore the objects of the world cannot provoke him anymore. We get provoked by what is around us. So what we look upon as desirable, those things provoke us by creating temptations and making me go after them. Those things that are undesirable also provoke me by creating an aversion and trying to push them away or avoid them or get rid of them. But this person is Truptatma, one who is content with himself and ever content with everything. Therefore, even-minded. What is even-minded? Free from any reaction of attachment and aversion. Gold is a very precious metal. So this person recognizes gold as gold. Not that his eyes do not see, not that his mind does not notice, he does. That this is gold. This is a stone. This is a clod of earth. He recognizes. And anything else, these are examples. Whatever else is there. Not only these three things, anything that is there. He recognizes them because he perceives them like everybody else. Except that these things do not create in him any reaction. Reaction is created because of my perception. See, gold creates in me a reaction in terms of a desire to get it because I perceive that as something valuable to me. Gold is valuable is one thing, valuable to me is another thing. Just because it's valuable, I may not necessarily bother about it, or I may not necessarily want it. When it becomes valuable to me, then I want it. As Swamiji would say that for a child, your marbles are very valuable, Children are playing with marbles. They win the marbles. They have a dabba in which they store it, shake it, be, satisfied with the sound that just today I have made some more marbles, I have won some more marbles. Happy. And he won't part with a single marble, even if his younger sister comes, man, forget it. Because marble is very valuable to him. when he becomes father, his 5-year-old son says, "My dad, will you play marble with me?" Sure. He plays marble with his son. But now, marble is no more valuable to him because he has found other valuable things anyway. To his son, marble is very valuable. To him, it's okay. If it's there, fine. No, he doesn't mind losing it. Formerly he was very particular, and then if necessary he'll cheat also to make sure he wins. No more. He'll fight. Hey, you cheated. You have to see children, they fight more than they play. No more. He's very generous. He lets his son win. Because marble, whether something is valuable is a matter of perception. And therefore, marble is no more valuable to him. As Swami would say, if it is golden marble, then it's a different matter. Perhaps, But things are valuable because we are not valuable to ourselves. That's a problem. Since I have not discovered value for myself, therefore, things in the world are very valuable to me. When you recognize that you are the valuable, you are quite sufficient for yourself. That's why Tripta Atma, being content with what he is, with no incentive to be different, no incentive to change itself, no incentive to be different, because quite content with the way I am, what I am. So he recognizes that gold is a valuable thing, but then he doesn't have value for it, because it's not valuable for him. Therefore, there is no incentive or there is no reaction on his part to try to acquire, pick up that thing. Otherwise, when walking about, seeing a piece of a gold coin there, I look around. Actually, sannyasi is not supposed to, but then I look around. Nobody is watching, I pick up. Somebody is watching, I'll go by as though I don't care. But it creates a temptation to pick it up because it is valuable to me. I think that by acquiring gold coin, I'll become more valuable than what I am. I'm not valuable as I am, and by acquiring that, I'll become more valuable. Therefore, I pick up. Someone who starts, why was this clod of earth? I get rid of it. It's in my house. I want to get rid of it because of its being there, I'm less valuable. Therefore, I want to get rid of it. But one who has recognized his own value, understand that this is not only for wise person, for everybody. When you recognize that you are the most valuable. Ocean recognizes that I am full. He doesn't run after the rivers, come on, send invitation letters, please come to me. Oh, rains, please come to me. No, because rivers and rains get water from the ocean. Samalu stars makanchana. Therefore, he upade buddhi. Usually we relate to the things and beings of the world by either here, I want to get rid of them, upade, I want to acquire them. So the thing usually creates in me a reaction. I want it, I don't want it. One of the two. Nothing creates that reaction in him. That I want it or I don't want it. Its present doesn't make him more valuable or doesn't make it less valuable. His contentment cannot be affected in any way. Therefore, he is totally even-minded to everything. Next verse also describes that. We'll see it in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.